All right, welcome back. This is now actually episode 4 of the new Mapleton saga, but actually it's really episode 5 because episode 4 we had a little mishap. Unfortunately, I had my screen recording settings a little off and the entire recording is unusable. So that's going to be lost, so I'm just going to do a quick recap for everybody to let you know what's happened since the last episode. So the key points is that, we built an incinerator, so we're going to try and empty our landfills, which we've now filled almost 5 of. But the exciting things that happened is that Jocelyn and Earl both started to realize their visions, and they got to start building their dream neighborhoods. So for Earl Dixon, that's this neighborhood over here of Arbor Gardens, named after Agnes Arbor, the well-known botanist from London. And his vision for this neighborhood is actually to have it be very walkable. You can see this path is already starting to work its way around. It's eventually going to find its way all the way around. And you can walk it without crossing any roads. And you can even make it all the way over to our new senior center, called the Arbor Senior Center over here. And he wants to build this so that it has a full set of botanical gardens. We're going to relocate the Japanese garden, maybe build a tropical garden. He just wants to have this be just a beautiful green space with lots of gardens and amenities, something that people would love to live in, but also will be a great tourist destination in the city here. Now, Jocelyn has started her vision on the other side of the river, where she wants to build eventually her train station for cargo train. Right now it's a landfill, but we'll get that replaced soon. And she's also started building a neighborhood that's called Rosewood Manor. And despite this unfortunate soul here, everybody's pretty happy about. There's a nice park. We've got a new high school built. And you've got a nice drive through Noir Park. Now, this was one of the concessions she had to make in order to get Earl to agree to this build. There's some recreational use. Things are a little bit looser over here in terms of the restrictions, but she agreed to let this area be a park reserve. So it will never be touched now or in the future. It'll be a nice green space that everybody can enjoy for many years to come. Now, the last thing we were building before we left off was this part of Noir Valley. So once we hit our last milestone, now we can build some higher density zones, and you can already see those starting to fill in with residents just needing places to live. We've got a nice new elementary school here for them to use, and the next step will be getting this ready for future use. So in today's episode, we're just going to be kind of growing this neighborhood over here and slowly building up the botanical gardens here. And the most important thing we need to do is start building up our industry. We have a bit of industrial demand, and the one thing we've neglected to build up to this point is office space. So we're going to start with building some office space, both in Noir Valley and over in the Farmside Meadows area, probably alongside this main road. Nice easy access for everybody, and it won't create too much of a traffic problem. And it'll act as a nice noise buffer for the traffic of the road. And then we'll also need to increase our education. So one of the other things we'll be looking to build is a university. More on that later. Let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is build some office space. So grab your flare, don't forget your TPS cover sheet, and here we go. I think we're going to need some on both sides of the river because we've really been neglecting this. Everybody's working industrial jobs and farm jobs right now. But I think there's going to be a big demand for office work in this growing and this population becoming more and more educated. This is something, of course, both Earl and Jocelyn are in favor of, and Jocelyn has found a contractor she really likes. They're known as Benson Architects. And so she's hired them, she's convinced the board to hire them as an exclusive contractor to develop all of this office buildings. Now, they also notice there's having some very serious traffic problems over in Arbor Gardens, so we need to just sort that out. So they set a small commission. That commission is tasked with just keeping track of interchanges. We'll change mostly stop signs here. I think we're going to have to look at the flow of this intersection later, but let's at least get the name of the road back. Don't know what happened there. Now, of course, our city's still growing, but the Benson Architects is also going to start developing some high-density residential, which is really what Noir Valley is really going to be all about. Getting those taller buildings in, really getting some high-density residential, commercial, office space. That's what Jocelyn wants to see. She wants to see growth. She's all into that. A quick skip forward here. I need to go ahead and take out the loan to build that other incinerator, because we're going to have really big garbage problems soon if we don't. We're going to need, just looking at it, looks like at least 3 incinerators to take care of all of our trash. Now, I'm fast forwarding here a little bit because I'm still learning how to move smoothly, so since I didn't do any building in that little gap there, I just skipped ahead, so you don't have to get motion sick through me moving around like that. Now I'm going to start building some office space over here in Industrial Heights. Eventually we're going to convert that industry into more office use, but more on that later. In the meantime, Jocelyn's power subcontractor needs to step up their game and add some more power to our system. They're contracted to keep ahead of that problems. But some other story is happening here that you need to hear about, which is a woman by the name of Loretta Shop. Now, she's seen all this growth, and she's very excited about it, so she's built the Shop Till You Drop Center here, and she's actually lobbied to Jocelyn to make it historic, because she wants it to be just part of this downtown forever. She's very excited to build this shop. She's invested a lot of her own money, taken out a lot of loans, but it's gonna be here to stay. Of course, we're going to keep growing the residential here in Noir Valley. Look at it, it's filling out nicely. And it's time to start building up into Park Square. This is going to be a nice neighborhood with some high-density residential, but it's going to be a little bit more spaced out, not too close together, so we can put in a little green in between the buildings, some nice trees. That's something that will develop over time. Earl isn't ready to just build it up fast, but he's hoping this might be an area for the university to be built in the future. Who wouldn't want to live near the library? Okay, so in Industrial Heights, we're going to start building some office space here for now, but eventually we're going to rezone the industrial. And Earl actually owns a lot of that industrial, so he's on board with this plan. He really wants to get just the filth and the dirt out of the city. He wants a real sustainable city. He also owns some of the small businesses along the road there, coming away from the roundabout, and he realizes this is a heavy traffic area, so it's going to have to be widened. We're going to need a proper avenue there. So the city is putting in some economic policies to discourage the companies from staying there and actually incentivizing them to leave so that they can build the road, and then they'll incentivize them to come back with new businesses, maybe some higher density even. Now, I also implemented the Industry 4.0, but because we don't have a university, that's a pretty bad idea. But the plan is working. They're already angry about the taxes. Sorry, guys. Uh-oh. Loretta's shop till you drop is abandoned. Oh dear. I think she got a little bit ahead of the city's growth with her plan. Not even 10,000 people here yet. So let's add some more residential. People want to move in, they're happy. Now we need to think about this corridor here. I want to bridge over it and start building on the other side of the train tracks. The train tracks will actually need to go underground here to get under the main road before they come into the passenger station we'll build in the future, but maybe we can think about that later. There we go, we've got some abandoned buildings. So it's time to start rezoning this drag so we can expand Roundabout Drive. Now again, Earl owns a lot of these businesses, so he's not too upset about the plan. There's whispers that he's taking advantage of his position on the board. But since everybody else on the board is basically doing the same, nobody says anything. We also need a few offices over by the farm here. The farm has actually requested it. They need some management firms, some PR firms to really push their organic products so they can make a little more money. Someone else we need to hear about right now is a guy named Teddy Hirsch. Now, Teddy has been working for Jocelyn since the city was founded. He started at a minimum wage job, worked 60-hour weeks and built himself up, but then suddenly one of his buddies died. And it really affected him deeply. So he's building a cemetery in honor of that friend out here on the other side of town. And he's actually going to quit his job too. 60-hour weeks just burned him out. And he knows there's a lot more to life than just work. Especially working for somebody else, somebody like Jocelyn, who doesn't really appreciate what he's capable of. So he's taken some of the money he's earned and he's going to invest it first in the cemetery and then in some new project, but he's got to take some time to think about what that project is going to be. It looks like the redevelopment of Industrial Heights is going nicely here. Got some nice office buildings. We're going to build a few more, but I want to leave some space for some greenery, some nice parks here. Looks like from the top, still got a few industries we got to get rid of. And our policies are gone now, so we might just have to evict them or pay them off, buy them out. Yeah, this pollution's pretty bad. Now it's time to build another incinerator. There, we got enough money for that. And we can start emptying our landfills to clear out this space and maybe turn them into some nice green space or maybe a place for the university. And over here we need a place for the cargo rail station for Jocelyn. Yeah, so Loretta's shop has indeed failed. It's gone completely out of business, so she's had to sell up to the bank And the bank, of course, is going to build right on top of her land there. Or we could say that the bank gutted the building and put a new facade on, and they've turned it into an outlet shop. Loretta is heartbroken, but she's going to come back. I think she's too spirited and too in love with this town to go away forever. Got a little more office space. I think we need to evict those last few industries. And we're a little low on cash, so let's go back and make some nice paths that we wanted to make. I think the city needs to get back into some of those residential planning. Maybe we'll do an episode on that in the future here. And out, it's Madison District. I think this had a farm name. We'll have to change this name, but let's keep growing Park Square. This is the Benson Architects, just building and building and building, doing their thing. And now we're a small city. That's fantastic. Now, as a small city, we can build some new things. We have some new policies to take on. But we'll pick that up in the next episode because we need to start making some money so we can really build some of the exciting things we want, like the cargo train station. In the meantime, here's a quick tour of the neighborhoods of New Mapleton. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the little bit of story. I'm hoping to do more of that in the future. So I'm just going to keep making these, and even though I have like 3 views on YouTube, we'll keep making it until we make it.